All right, let's dive in. Today, we're getting into the science behind some of the world's oldest medicines, anti-inflammatory herbs. We're going to look at what modern researchers are actually discovering about these plants and how they might work to calm down that fire of inflammation in the body. So, I want you to picture this. Imagine a fire alarm in your house goes off, but it just never, ever stops. Annoying, right? Well, that's a pretty good way to think about chronic inflammation. It's your body's natural defense system, but it's just stuck in the on position. So, what is inflammation really? At its core, it's the body's natural, healthy response to something harmful, like an injury or an infection. And that's a good thing. It's crucial for healing. But the problem starts when that response goes haywire and doesn't shut down. That's when this normally helpful process can become a major driver behind all sorts of chronic disorders. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll start with a little bit of history, then we'll dive right into the scientific evidence for a few key herbs. We'll look at how they actually work on a biological level, cover some really important words of caution, and then wrap up by looking at the future. Sound good? Let's go.
First things first, let's get some context here. You know, using plants to treat things like pain and swelling isn't some new health craze you saw online. Nope. This is a practice with incredibly deep roots that go back thousands of years.
I mean, for literally centuries, herbal medicine was the main way people prevented and treated diseases. It's been a cornerstone of traditional healing all across the globe, especially in places like Iran and China, where many of these very same plants are still a core part of their medicine today. But what happens when you take all that ancient wisdom and put it under the microscope of modern science? What are the clinical trials actually telling us? Let's take a look.
We're going to start with one you definitely know, ginger. It's so much more than just a spice for your food. It has been studied like crazy for its anti-inflammatory properties.
Okay, lean in for this one, because this is where things get really, really interesting. Multiple studies have put ginger in a head-to-head competition with common NSAIDs. That's stuff like ibuprofen. So what happened? Well, for patients with osteoarthritis, researchers found that ginger extract worked just as well as ibuprofen for improving pain. And get this? One study found its effect was, and I'm quoting here, identical to diclofenac, which is a common prescription anti-inflammatory. Pretty wild. All right, next up we have boswellia, which is also known as Indian olibanum. But you might know it by its much more famous name, frankincense. Yep, that one. This tree resin has a super long history in traditional medicine. I mean, just listen to the language the scientists used in this study. They found a dramatic alleviation of joint swelling and pain in osteoarthritis patients. That's a huge deal. The people in the study also saw a big jump in their joint flexibility and how far they could walk without pain. And the research doesn't stop with osteoarthritis. Other studies have shown that boswellia can be effective for something called collagenous colitis. That's a type of inflammatory bowel disease. Other trials saw it significantly reduce morning stiffness for people with rheumatoid arthritis, and it even helped improve symptoms for asthma patients when it was used with other herbs. Our last deep dive is on an herb I'm almost certain you have in your kitchen right now, rosemary. It turns out that beyond that amazing smell, it's packed with some seriously potent compounds. Now this number, 34 micromolar, might look a bit technical, but what it's telling us is incredible. That is the tiny amount of a key compound in rosemary that's needed to basically jam up a specific part of our immune response. It's called the complement system, and while it's there to protect us, it can also drive chronic inflammation. So this shows just how powerful these plant compounds can be, right down at the molecular level. Okay, so we've seen some solid evidence that these herbs seem to work, at least in some studies. But the next big question is, how? How are they actually doing this? Let's get into the biology behind it. So the key thing to understand is that these herbs aren't just covering up symptoms. It looks like they're working on multiple fronts inside the body. For one, they can block the very same inflammatory pathways that drugs like ibuprofen target. They can also lower the levels of signals in your blood that scream inflammation. And as we just saw with rosemary, they can even interfere with parts of the immune system that keep fueling that inflammatory fire. Now, it is absolutely essential that we hit the brakes for a second and have a little reality check. Because while all this science is super exciting and promising, it's also really complex, and it comes with some very important warnings. You will find this sentence, or one that sounds just like it, in pretty much every single scientific paper on this topic. It's a huge reminder from the researchers themselves. This field is still evolving, and we have so much more to learn. The evidence is not set in stone. And this right here perfectly captures the big puzzle in the research. For every study that shows a really positive effect, you can sometimes find another one that shows, well, not much of an effect at all. So why the difference? It can be a whole host of things. The dose, the specific type of plant extract they used, how long the study went on for. It just shows we need a lot more research to nail down exactly what works best. And this is so important to remember. Just because something is natural, it does not mean it's harmless. These are powerful, biologically active substances. For instance, borage is a big no-no during pregnancy. Devil's claw can cause stomach issues, so it's not great for people with ulcers. And while the rosemary on your chicken is totally fine, animal studies have shown that super high doses can have negative effects on reproductive health. So after all that, where does this leave us? What could the future of healing look like when we factor in these ancient remedies? Look, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. There is real, compelling science here, for sure. But herbal remedies are not a simple magic bullet. The research shows clear potential, but it's also an evolving field. We still need more and better studies before we can make any sweeping conclusions. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. As our scientific tools get better and better at unlocking the secrets of these ancient plants, could the future of medicine not be about choosing ancient or modern, but about finding the perfect way to blend the wisdom of both?